When the rain is so heavy that it causes high flooding and power outages, engineering students, therefore, need to use the knowledge available to give birth to the director's daughter. Good. Welcome in. Look like Love Movie Recap channel today. Ad will come to spoil the movie's 3 idiots. Farron, Indian photographer, during his departure to work, he received a call from a college friend called Shatu, and what he knew was very important, to the point that he faked a heart attack to make the plane land emergency. Then he escaped from the airport and then immediately headed to college, and on the way, he called a close friend named Laju, and Lancho is back on the Laju side, hearing that, startled, and immediately dressed out of the house. And he was so quick that he forgot to wear his pants. When arriving at university, both rushed to the tank. As soon as they see Shatu, they asked for about Lanko, but Shatu didn't answer. He's also bragging. Rich, show off the big house, show off luxury cars, to show off a beautiful wife. Farron and Layu were confused about why they would show off, so Shatu said that today, 10 years ago, it's the day he and Lanko challenged that. In the next 10 years, we'll be more successful, and Shatu said Rancho is not coming because he can't accept defeat. Both the Farron side that didn't meet friends ranted, but when Shatu said, I knew where Rancho was, Farron was immediately cured. After that, the trio traveled to find Lanko. Together, and on the movie, Farron came to mind the story of the past. Cut the scene to the past before. Farron always understood that life is a competition, that have to compete since sperm. There are 300 million competitors. After being born, however, parents immediately applied for the next competition, with the saying, my son will be an engineer. Farron had to enter this competition unwillingly on the first day he came on the field. Farron met another contestant named Layu. He has to compete with poverty, with the finish line is to be a high-salary engineer, and can pour families out of poverty. But their path to victory, it wasn't easy. The first obstacle to encounter was the admission of the juniors from the power-mad seniors. But then Farron's idea of competition began to change when he met Lanko, a man who was clearly different from others. While a year old, everyone accepted the seniors. But Lanko walked into the room without paying attention, which makes the seniors angry. So he would teach by peeing at the door. But Lanko showed everyone his intelligence. He was able to invent an electric shock machine in a short time, then put it in front of the door. When seniors pee on, it was shocked until the seniors fell to sleep on the ground. In addition to receiving younger, the failed education system is a big obstacle for students, which is clearly transmitted through the instructor and at the #1 college in this country. There's a million-year-old dinosaur with a director. The students nicknamed it a virus. He is very competitive, and he often brainwashed college students like that too. And he always said, life is a competition. If not fighting, then die. One day the virus brought out his pen to the students and then say it's a pen that humanity has spent millions on so that it can be written in space.com. And the virus got this pen from the director. The previous one with the command pen, this is a symbol of excellence. If one day meets an excellent student like you, give it to him, but the pen is still viral. It also shows that decades ago, no one's good enough to get it yet, of course. The students are ready to compete to get that precious pen. But then that pen suddenly became ridiculous when Lanko asked the virus, if you can't use a pen in space, why not use a pencil instead? Save a lot of budget in the first class. Lanko sat and smiled until the teacher asked, so he replied that engineering is my dream. So I'm very happy to study here. Then the teacher gave Lanko explain the meaning of the machine on the side. Lanko, it's easy to understand, with informal spoken language. But the teacher was unhappy with that answer. The teacher then gave Shatu answered that question instead, and he answered exactly the definition written in the book. When the teacher appreciates Shatu, Lanko told me, I answered the same way. I'm just using a simple language. According to my understanding, why do we have to sleep? Close your eyes, recite the textbook as well. The teacher said that. Is she better than a textbook? After that, the two argued back and forth, which Lanko argued for a reason. But it also upset the teacher and kicked him out of the classroom. But during his walk out of the room, the teacher cursed him as a moron. When Lanko heard that word, he came back and told the teacher that I had forgotten. When the teacher asks what he forgot, Lanko told me the definition of that, which the professor doesn't know what it is. Lanko said it was a book. The teacher looked at why he didn't use easy language, so Lanko said, "I tried, but it didn't work." What Lanko did made laughter and impressed friends very much, but with a brave habit of breaking customs. Dare to think outside his box, it also often gets him kicked out of the classroom. But Lanko doesn't care. Expelled from room 1, he will go to another class. Lanko didn't just do this with school. In everyday life, he regularly goes above and beyond expectations, while others have problems with queuing for a shower. But for Lanko, this problem is a little easy to solve. Besides, Lanko's still a man who is passionate about machines. He always takes everything out and puts it back together. And at this university, there is a year for one person who likes machines too, Lanko by his name. Joy, not long ago, though Joy will waste his time caring for his sick father, barely having time to finish the project, but he's still confident. The project will be completed in time to graduate this year. He asked for a graduation deadline this year with the virus in order to book a train ticket for his father to join him, delighted in the achievements he was proud of. So the virus will call Joy's father, but instead of him telling me the deadline is over, he said that. No ticketing, come here, because your child never ends. Because his forced drone project came absurd, not really working. Joy later dropped his project in the trash, and Lanko, who saw the whole incident, took the drone because he thinks what Joy did was good. It's interesting. It can also be applied a lot. Also, Lanko wants to help Joy and wanted to prove to the virus that this project is not absurd. But Lao doesn't seem to agree. Lanko devoted his time to helping others, because soon there will be both sub and big exams. So Lanko told his friends not to worry, no matter how many obstacles you encounter. Let us just say to ourselves that all is well. We will be encouraged to fight after that. Lanko began developing drones at the same time as studying and having fun with friends on the college fence until the drone can finally be used. Lan Cho will fly the drone to surprise Joy, but he found Shatu naked dancing in the room. It created a lot of laughter for them. But then, the laughter immediately silenced as the drone flew to Joy's room, and the image they saw was Joy's soulless body. The suicide of his son, who is about to graduate, is very sorry for his father, and Lanko, he's both sorry, and not satisfied with what makes Joy like that. And he went to tell the virus that Joy didn't kill himself, but he was murdered. When the virus heard that, so he called Lanko and said Joy's suicide wasn't his fault. The Lanko side said, "I don't blame the teacher, I blame the education system." Then Lanko explained, "Today, the system loses rank, score grade, or the garden, but the work to be done. But the system never paid attention to new ideas, never mind the ability of learners. On the viral side, instead of listening, he was dissatisfied. That Lanko is cocky, show him how to teach." The virus dragged Lanko into the classroom and let Lanko try to teach, which Lanko began to teach by letting everyone find the meaning of the words written on the board inside. 30 seconds. When the timer starts, everyone bowed to open the book to find out. But in the end, no one could answer. After that, Lanko said, "What everyone does is it's a competitive study that doesn't benefit anything. No new knowledge, and there's pressure." Then the virus said, "Not a life philosophy class. Hurry and answer." So, Lanko told the teacher, "Those two words have no meaning, because I didn't teach engineering to my friends, but I'm here to teach you how to teach." After finishing speaking, Lanko rushed away, leave only the laughter of the college students. To the virus, which of course, the virus is both very angry and embarrassed. He then took revenge on Lanko by writing a letter to Farron and Leiyu's family to sue them that your son is dating bad friends, and it could cause poor grades. Shortly thereafter, Farron's father also called Lanko to blame, and I begged you not to ruin Farron's future. Enough blame is done. Dad chased Lanko back without eating at home. So Lanko and Farron are going to eat at Leiyu's house. His house is old, small, and dirty. Leiyu's father also suffers from paralysis, and his mother was very grumbling. After knowing about the virus writing a letter to Sue, she complained like a rap her until Liu couldn't bear it, walk away from home. Leave both friends in uncomfortable situations, but out of hunger, they sat and ate. But it can't be eaten, because they saw that Mom used a kneading stick to scratch the eczema for Dad. Then Lanko took his friends secretly to eat for free at the wedding. In the meantime, Lanko accidentally sees a man begging his fiancée to take off his old watch, since he shamed people on the job. So Lanko went in to greet the girl and tell her, "Don't go marry that ink ass. He'll make your marriage a full nightmare. Price tag with brand name. And to prove it," he told her, "I can know the price of those shoes without asking." Then he secretly poured the sauce on his shoes until the man shouted at the work, "You spilled the sauce on 300 shoes, my medal." The girl was both stunned and confused. But she's not actually going to get married. By this wedding belongs to her sister. And she wondered which relative Lanko was, so she asked her father. It appears she is the eldest daughter of the virus. With her name, Pia, on the viral side, seeing a spiteful apprentice, he rushed in, but Lanko lied. He came to this event to offer a power converter project. Of course, the virus is unbelievable. By the following day, he had called Farron and Laju. And he said that Lanko's father was very rich. He therefore does not need to finish school. But you have a family waiting to rely on, so stop dating Lanko after that. Laju began to hesitate because he wants to finish school, working with a lot of money because he wanted his sister to get married. Want Mom to buy a new Sorry. Lanko came in and explained that we were dedicated to education, not grades. Seek excellence and success will come to us. But it also seems that Liu still doesn't understand Lanko's approach. A race to get to that one. By near the exam, he secretly distributed porn books to distract a friend, but Lanko happened to see. So he decided to give Shatu a lesson and help Liu get his eyes lit. In a few days, Shatu will have to give a speech in front of the virus and the minister. But Shatu is not good at Hindi, so he went to the librarian to write a speech for him. Lanko then lured the two to another place and used that rhythm to make it look bad. The Shatu side only memorizes OE, so he spoke exactly after the script, and it made the students laugh at the conference room, and the minister was very unhappy. Walk away from the room, but Shatu still doesn't know. This is the effect of sleeping, closing your eyes, memorizing that night. After Shatu knew the whole thing was Lanshu's work. He came up and stabbed the water and ranted at him on the Lansho side. It's trying to tell Shatu to study understandably and fun. Don't memorize like that. But Shatu doesn't care. He's sure his way of studying can make it successful, and Shatu challenged. 10 more next year. Let's meet here, and then let's see who will be more successful. Cut the scene to the braid. During her shopping with her fiancé, she happened to see Lanko walk by. So she went after Lanko for having an affair with her father and called her fiancé an ink ass. So Lanko says, "Your fiancé is all about money. He never really loved you." Of course, Pia doesn't believe it, so Lanko will prove it by keeping Pia's luxury watch, and then told her fiancé that Pia lost his watch. Then, her fiancé scolded the goodies, and I kept saying how expensive that watch was, which makes the eyes bright. So she took the watch back and broke up with him. Shortly thereafter, Farron called and said, "Liu's father is very ill, need help now." On the Lanko side, who came to mind that Pia was a doctor, so he begged her for help. Then the couple rushed to Liu's house. From the examination of Pia, she was found to be rushed to the hospital urgently. But the hospital car was late, so Lanko took Liu's father to the hospital. In addition, he also moved up the building to the bed. Langeman's dogma saved Liu's father's life, because if reaching the doctor's hand a little later, he would not survive. When Laju found out about this, he was very grateful to Lanko after that. Pia volunteered to stay with Laju's father in order to get the three of them back to rest. Prepare for the exam tomorrow, but Lanko said it was okay. There are many exams, but our father is alone. When Ryu heard that, he was very pleased, running into tears, hugging Lanko. The whole Pia side that saw the good side of Lanko, it also made her feel like Lanko came up. The next morning, Pia came to wake the trio and then convinced them to take the exam. She promised to take care of Layu's father first. Then all three went to the motorcycle exam, but since they took the exam late, to finish, it was overdue, which the teacher won't take. So Lanko asked the teacher, "Do you remember our name and code?" When the teacher said he couldn't remember, the test results were released by Farron at the top, and Lao Ju tried a lot. While Farron was sitting stressed, Shatu then ranted so loudly that he annoyed Farron, so he asked Lahu what it was. Lahu also said it was upset to get second place. When Farron asked who got first, Lahu replied that Lanko, which is that Lanko got first, traditionally he will take a picture next to the virus, which Lanko told the virus, he disagrees with racist discrimination. "I don't agree with sitting here, and my friends are in the back row." The viral side said it was appropriate for them to be there, and the virus also says they will fail the exam and cannot find a job. But Lanko said confidently that they would definitely have a job. "Sir, the virus bet that if Farron and Lao Yu get jobs, he will give up his shave shortly thereafter." The virus introduced the job interview, and Lao Yu asked, "If the job interview is passed, but the final exam didn't pass, will you still get a job?" The more frequent the virus called both of them to the stage, and then insult them in front of people. As for the story they asked, the virus replied, "The final exam doesn't affect work, because you guys don't get jobs anyway." After that, the three went for a drink, died at the water, and Lanko told Farron, "That I got first, and you got the bottom, it's because I'm passionate about engineering, and you're passionate about photography, which is like Michael's father, Jackson forced you to punch boxing." Lao Yu then asked, "That Nan showed that I like engineering like you, then why did I still fail?" So Lanko said it was because you were a coward, scared of everything, scared until without concentration. But what Lanko criticizes friends to that, I myself am like that too, which is what Lanko pretends not to like and then afraid to confess. Love Farron then challenged Lanko that he would resign from engineering to take pictures. Lao Yu will abandon his fear if Lanko goes to confess his love, and with drunkenness, well, accept the challenge, and then climb the house to Pia's room, then shake his hand and confess his love for her. That is the sister of Pia. She was very impressed by Lanko's reckless guts. Meanwhile, the virus is awake as it hears the sound of Lao Yu jumping down. Both Lanko sides are now talking to the baby in the stomach, the wet sister, which he said is already in the stomach. "Don't come out and see your crazy grandfather." During Lanko's speech, when he said all is well, the child immediately kicked his mother's stomach, make them excited, big joy. Suddenly, the virus came out screaming loudly, so Lanko had to run away. Farron and Lao Yu peed the car in front of the house for the virus, but the virus ran after it to see that one of them was Lao Yu. The next morning, the virus called Lao Yu in to help print the documents, which is the document firing Lao Yu. The Lao Yu side cried for a chance and asked for an opinion. So the virus offered him to testify against the land show of peeing in front of the house in exchange for not being fired. After that, Lao Yu stood crying in confusion. He also has to choose between the future of his family and the future of his friends. But with this enormous pressure, he therefore chose to kill himself. It's good that he didn't die but was paralyzed, can't talk, can't move. But it still recognizes everything as usual. Deer then advised everyone not to be sad for him to see, and tried to talk encouragement. Lanko knows that. He lied to Lao Yu with good news. Both brought friends to visit, and bought a new, sorry for Lao Yu's mother, which Lanko tried tirelessly to encourage, until Lao Yu finally came back and spoke, and moved after healing until healing. Lao Yu also decided to go to a job interview and abandon his fears. Meanwhile, Lanko told Farron the good news. The photographer, who is Farron's idol, has accepted the internship request. Previously, Lanko had secretly sent an internship request. Farron then dropped the job interview. To go home and tell you I don't want to be an engineer, even if I work. I'll be a bad engineer. Although earning a lot of money, I will be distressed. But if I became a photographer, the money would be small, but I'm happy, Dad. Then he got up and went to the notebook he had bought for Farron, and tell you how much is a professional camera. Let's sell this notebook. Tell me how much you want. Then Farron cried and came to hug Dad. Cut the scene to Lehu. He interviewed for a job without being afraid of anything. Answer everything according to the truth, not pretending to make a good picture. The company doesn't like this straightforward attitude. So they said to Lao Yu, if you reassure us that you can change your attitude, frankness, we might consider you. Laju smiled and replied that, "I've been through more than I can stand in myself, so I can't change it." After the speech was over, he turned back without fear. But what Laju has shown, instead, it impressed the company and took Liu into office afterwards. Both Farron and Liu came to tell the good news and took off their pants. Thanks to Lanko, which is the success of Friends, it made Lanko so happy that he couldn't hold back his tears. Meanwhile, the virus then shaved its promise, which also makes him feel very, very bad. But instead, he acknowledged the achievements of Farah and Liu. Instead, he was furious to the point of taking the exam himself. To make Liu fail the exam, the Pia side also felt it was unfair, so she tried to warn him, but the virus didn't listen. Cut the scene to Lanko's room. Anyway, Pia, in a drunken state, climbed the room to find the land show, and I gave the virus's office key to the land show. To get him to sneak into the exam where your father deliberately bullied Laju, which Lanko and Farron risked to save their friends, they snuck into the exam, but they couldn't find it. So Lanko will call to ask Pia, but her phone was pushing nearby virus. Made him see that someone was calling from his office, the virus will go to see who's calling. Meanwhile, Farron found the exam, which they quickly took to copy and then glue the exam to the same place. When the virus arrived, there's no one in the room. But he saw that the copier was on, so he went to check the exam. Now the glue is not dry. The virus knew immediately that someone was sneaking in to see the exam, which he suspected Lanko was the first, so he immediately invaded Lanko. Lanko's side now took the exam to Liu, but Liu threw away the exam because he wants to pass the exam with his own ability. Suddenly, the virus entered the room, and he saw the exam paper that Laju left behind. The virus then hit and cursed Lancho, and then kicked out of college tonight. The virus later returned to ask his daughter why Lanko had his father's office key. Pia confessed that she took it for herself, because I don't want Liu to have the same fate as her brother. Which Pia decided to tell him the truth. Brother wants to be a writer, not an engineer. And the brother didn't die in the train crash, but I killed myself because I can't bear the pressure of my father. After finishing speaking, Pia ran away from home. After a while, the rain became more heavy, causing heavy flooding. But Lanko needs to break through the flood to move out tonight on the orders of the virus. But on the way, he met his sister, Pia, who was having a stomachache near giving birth in the car. And the virus is calling the hospital car, but because the floods are so heavy, the ambulance was therefore unable to pick it up when it can't be taken to the hospital. So Lanko called to consult with Pia, which he told Lanko, "My friends, help each other make their own birth. You'll tell me how to do it via video call." But shortly after Pia's sister gave birth, she was exhausted and almost unconscious. The only way to save both mother and child's life is to use an airtight cup to pull the child out. But they didn't have one, so Lanko asked what it was. Pia sent a video to Lanko to see the working principle. When he saw, said to invent it from a vacuum cleaner. He will apply his engineering knowledge to make the pressure adjustment system of the vacuum cleaner to become a medical vacuum cup, but then a big problem arose. When the power came out, the video call couldn't be made, and importantly, they won't have electricity for vacuum cleaners. But this obstacle can't stop Lanko. Generates electricity from car batteries. Lanko will use his project Lanko. Don't wait. He ordered him to call his friends from the dorm. Let's find car batteries and wires. Then Lanko started making the fire system, with friends to help continue with suction head modification. They finally succeeded. Electricity is back in use. The modified vacuum cup part is also available. Then they videotaped the amount of pressure required, and he successfully pulled the child out, but the child is not breathing. Make Pia's sister cry, regret what happened. Lao Ju then comforted her by talking. He said, "All is wells." Suddenly, the child kicked in front of the Lanko, so he asked everyone to say, "Or as well." The child finally kicked in front of the Lancho again, with a loud cry coming out, very happy for everyone, especially viruses. And he carried his grandchildren and said, "What are you kicking? Want to be a footballer? Be what I want to be." After everything ended well, Lanko then panted. The bag walked away, but the virus went after him, gave him a space pen, and tell Lanko to return to his room and read the exam. Or is the virus no longer chasing Lanko? Cut the scene to the graduation. Lanko received the Outstanding Student Award. He won the viral prize that now accepts Lanko. On the Laju side, graduated to Farron. Happily took pictures at the event, but during his photo shoot, keeping the picture at the event a good memory. There, Lanko then quietly got in the car, and that day was the last buddy I met Lanko. Cut the scene back to the present. They finally arrived at the huge mansion of Lanko, but the man named Lanko who was there was back. Not the dear friend they knew. But it's not like they're in the wrong place, or looking for Lanko in the wrong place, because there's also a graduation certificate, and the picture that Lanko used to take, only the pictures of Lanko they knew. Montage to be the man who said he was Lanko. They later came back to discuss the strange that happened. The Chateau side also confirmed that Lanko was in town, because he accidentally got a photo attached to Lanchoma. So in order to find out the truth, they went back to the mansion again and tried to ask for a land show they knew. Neither side, the man answered anything, and then threatened the gun. But they're not afraid. And that man's bone ash jig to intimidate you into telling the whole truth otherwise. Bone ash will be poured into the toilet.com, he finally told me. By the way, it exists. That actually who Farah and Lao Yu knew he's the gardener at this mansion. He was very passionate about learning. He always wears the uniform of a real Lanko, to wear marks to study instead, which the real Lanko likes very much, someone to do homework and exams. But then one day the rupture, because Lanko did a very difficult problem on the board. Make the teacher interested until caught. But since the real Lanko's father is very influential, the teacher therefore just warns. Lanko, instead of being punished, the real Lanko's father encouraged him to study engineering. But he must study as Lanko because the father just wants to have an engineering degree. His son's name is on the wall, and because of that, Lanko ran away from his friends and everyone after graduation to cover up the whole thing. After knowing the whole truth, they set out to find their friends. They know the whereabouts of the real Lanko, and I also know that Lanko went to run a school there, on the Chateau side, when he learned that Lanko went to be a teacher. He laughed, glad that he was more successful during the trip to the land show. They thought of Pia, so I called her, which, right now, she's going to marry an ink ass. So they decided to take the bride out of the job. But Chateau came to interrupt, because I don't want to waste time, because in a few days, he has an important appointment with Poonchuk, a famous scientist whom Chateau praised. Since he's a very good man, it also owns more than 400 inventions. But even so, Farah and Ladu did not pay attention to the great men of Chateau. They only care about land shows and want their friends to achieve their love. The two later tied up Chateau in the trunk of the car and rushed to Chateau's wedding. Pia, whom Farron had secretly approached Pia to tell her the news of the land show. Meanwhile, Lao Yu has gone to stall the groom by sneaking up as a hotel employee and pretend to clean the groom's dress, but in fact, he had worn a groom's dress to disguise himself, convincing Pia until she finally escaped the wedding to find Lanko. Shortly thereafter, they arrived at the school. Enough to come inside, they're sure it's Lanko's school, of course, because the kids here are good and smart. There are interesting inventions. When they asked Lanko and a student, he took it to Lanko's office, and he said that Lanko was always following the work of his best friends. It also proudly brought their stories to the children. Also, Lanko kept Paya's helmet very well. Cut the scene to Lanko. During his play with the children, he hardly believes his eyes. When I saw the plaque, the motorcycle came in. She later came in to slap Lanko in the face, the story he left without farewell, and asked, "Is there a lover yet?" Lanko replied that there is. When Pia heard that, he was very disappointed, but she kept asking, "Who's your lover?" So Lanko said, "You." Shortly thereafter, Farron and Layu then came in and stomped on the worried Lanko, then hugged him with nostalgia. Suddenly, Chateau followed Ginger, his own success. Let Lanko listen satisfactorily and laugh that Lanko is just a Lozalori teacher. Then he gave Lanko his consent to defeat, which he signed. But when Chateau saw that Lanko was using the virus pen, he thinks Lanko stole it. He then took the pen back. After that, Pia asked the name Poolchuk Kwangdu, where he said that the name Poolchuk Kwangdu, whereas Lanko is a scientist at Chateau, adorned. That's it. When Farron and Lao Hu heard that, so they tried to call Chateau back, but Chateau didn't care. so Lanko called a call on the Shatu side. When he saw that Poonchuk Wangdu called, he hurried to answer the call. And Lanko told him, "I'm sorry, I can't sign a deal with your company because you took my pen test scores. Grade, rank, these are one of the indicators of studying. But none of these can truly say that .com how talented are learners, because it's a measure from the exam which is different from real work, and the implementation of knowledge also. We can do the exam. It's probably by memorizing books. Not out of understanding, therefore. Grade points are not the goal of study. The real goal of studying is knowledge, understanding, and the ability to implement it. But all of this, the problem is not that learners are interested in grades. The problem is with the education system. That makes learners like that.com add therefore hopes that, in the future, there will be people who understand this problem as well. Land show, and then there's enough power to better modify the system. Finally, everyone to rate our education system. If you like, want to see the next video *, click to subscribe. See you next clip. *, thanks you for watching videos.